Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about The Net. This movie came out in 1995, and it is one of my all-time favorite movies, and it stars one of my all-time favorite actresses, Sandra Bullock. I love her to death. She is so awesome. She has that girl next door look, but with kind of like a slight European vibe to her face and everything. She's really tall. She has this really soft voice. And she is an extremely good actress. And she was killing it in the 90s with tons and tons and tons of movies like Speed, Miss Congeniality, Practical Magic, I believe. I still haven't seen that one yet, but I've seen a couple of stuff with her in it. The last movie I saw was Bird Box, and it was a Netflix movie. And tell you the truth, it's a shame that we don't see her as much as we used to in the movies. She's kind of just faded away and just became like a mom, and she does a couple of movies here and there, but I think the last one was like a females Ocean's 11 type thing. I didn't watch that, but I heard it didn't do too well. And I think she did something with Channing Tatum, but I didn't watch that either. So, whatever. And so, it's quite a shame because she is one of the greats and everything, in my opinion. I remember she was considered for the role of Carmen Sandiego if they was ever going to do a live action movie, but they never did, which would never work out now because Carmen is no longer considered white or Italian, but now Hispanic because of the 90s cartoon series and the Netflix reboot. But The Net was one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm not sure exactly when I watched it. I know I watched it on TV because I don't really go to movie theaters and stuff. But this movie was directed by Ivan Winkler, and he did an extremely good job on this movie. I really like some of the direction that he took with this movie. He's known for producing big movies like the Rocky movies and stuff like that. He doesn't really do that much directing, but he produces a lot. And so this movie was came out during the birth of truly the internet at home. The internet's always been around with computers since the 80s for the military, but once it became for commercial use, people jumped at it. I didn't start getting online until I was in high school, my 11th year and stuff. So that was around 2000 or 1999, something like that, around that time. And so the internet was starting to grow at that time, the good old dial-up and everything. And it wasn't as big as it is now, but they were starting to do things in this movie and in back in 95 that people just take for granted now, like ordering stuff online. That was very rare back in the day. I remember I took a computer class, I think my senior year, and there was this one dude in there and we was on the computer and he was just ordering stuff online. And stuff instead of doing his work. And I remember we were supposed to make websites for this one class, and this other dude was just goofing around doing stuff. And there was no Wikipedia at that time, but there were other things. And so it took forever just to get to one page, right? Now, like I said before, this movie is both considered it still holds up, but it's considered out of date. It holds up for the thrills and the suspense and the story of surveillance and getting your stuff hacked and your identity stolen, but it's outdated in terms of technology. My God, while watching this movie, I felt like I was in the Stone Age. The big computers, the weird looking laptops, the dial-up internet, the floppy disk, the flip cell phones that were really elongated, the car phones with the cords to it, the thigh-high pants. I mean, the old chat rooms and stuff, and the old-fashioned screens and displays and the form. Oh man, we was living in the Stone Age back then. Things are so much more easier, man. And I do wonder, would it be possible to remake this movie in the modern time? That's a toughie. There's a show called Surveillance that I never checked out, and I don't know what time era it's in. But there was that one Die Hard movie about cyber terrorists, and that movie was amazing. And one of the things that they did for that one was they made it into an action, cyber terrorist thriller type movie. And that really helped things out. But this movie is just simple suspense thriller. And I love how it stars a female. Like, they could have just picked a guy in this role, but the fact they put a female as the lead was really interesting and stuff. The character that Sandra Bullock plays is very, very driven and stuff. And she's a smart character. She's not too tough, but she will fight for her survival. And that's what she has to do throughout this entire movie. She is literally fighting not only for her life, but for her identity and stuff. And they've came out with other stuff related to this movie. The director's son came out with The Net 2.0, and I think that came out in the 2000s and stuff. That came out in 2000, and it was made in 2005 and came out directly on DVD in 2006. I tried to watch that. I couldn't get past 30 seconds of that movie. Why? Because for over 2 minutes long, the new main character is just running. She's running. She's in Istanbul, and she's just running from the bad guy. We don't see nobody chasing her, but she's just running. Needless to say, his son hasn't directed that many movies. And so I just all right, 30 seconds, I'm up. I'm tired of her running. Do something. Then in 1998, they came out with a television series. I knocked my camera over on the USA Network. And that starred a completely different actress. Well, no, it starred a completely different actress, Brooke Langston. And she's a Canadian actress. I saw her in one episode of Sliders. And she's a good actress, and she's really cute and stuff like that. And so the show is literally just a remake of the movie. Everything happens kind of the movie and stuff. She's a loner. Her name's Angela Bennett. She has that company after her. Instead of giving her the name Ruth Marks, they gave her a different name and stuff. But still, Elizabeth Marks. And tell you the truth, I'm really not sure how this show did. It only lasted for one season, so it probably didn't do that good. Years ago on Crackle, I found this series and I started to watch the first episode, but I got busy. I stopped, and then I went and got another streaming site, and I started watching that, and years passed by and I never finished it. Well, I just started thinking about it, so I went back to Crackle. If you search on your TV, you ain't gonna find it. You literally have to go to an app and start searching. And Crackle, for right now, still has it. It's gonna get rid of it in 6 days. I guess after all these years, nobody was watching it. Most people's never even heard of this series. So I'm probably gonna watch it really soon, the first episode, just to see how it is. And I might talk about it if it's some good, or just talk about it just in general. But there's no way in the world I'm gonna be able to get through 20 episodes in 6 days, because I'm a busy. And there's some movies and some TV shows that I have never talked about before that I really want to talk about during this month of Women's History Month. And so then there was a completely different copycat type show called Nowhere Man towards the late 90s, and it was on UPN, and that's the show I watched because you didn't have cable. I had UPN, so I was able to watch it, and I actually liked that show. I need to talk about it one day. I talked about one episode, and Nowhere Man is very similar to that of The Net. Basically, he's a photographer. He takes a picture in another country of some stuff that went down that gonna get him in trouble. And because of that, they want the negatives to like the picture. And so with that, they chase him all around the US as like they take away his identity and stuff like that. The problem with that show, it only lasted one season. It stars Bruce Greenwood, and the problem is that show never knew what it wanted to be. Does it want to be an action thriller, a sci-fi thing, a supernatural type thing? Like, what the world you want to be? And that show could never figure it out. It was trying to be like the X-Files. So the net is like, you gotta give it up. This was the heyday of the internet, and they were doing things and like, making you really think about like the internet and your privacy. Basically, everything about you is online. Back then, probably not as much, but now even more. And especially now because we're on social media and stuff like that. And with this being so outdated, this is why I say it would be kind of hard to remake this movie exactly the way it is, because technology has changed. She had a hard time finding a computer and she had to go to a place that had one. Now there are computers everywhere because they're on your phone and you can just take your tablet wherever you want. And there are like webcams like on like your smart devices now. There are like cameras all around town now. Google can track wherever you're at and everything. It just makes it so much harder. And with this movie set in the time, it was perfect and everything. Basically, what this is, like I said before, this is about a woman. This woman is Angela Bassett. Bennett. I'm thinking of the actress. Angela Bennett. I knew I was going to make that mistake. And she is a loner. She's a bit of a hermit. Nobody really knows what she looks like. She's a lovely woman, but she just doesn't interact with people in person. She doesn't interact with her neighbors. They barely see what she looks like. She has a job, but the only person who knows what she looks like is the person who hired her. And she has an ex-boyfriend who was married. She had an affair with, but didn't know he was married. And she talks to tons of people online, and this was before people started putting their picture online and chats and stuff like that as an avatar. And her mom has Alzheimer's. And so she just lives her life the way everybody else does. It's just she's obsessed with computers. She orders her pizza and food from like the internet. Instead of like setting a fire in the fireplace, she just turns the computer on with a fireplace display, which is really pathetic. She plays games with people online. Her whole life is online. For whatever reason, she will not leave and stuff. It's never explained why, but it's just, I've seen people like that in college and stuff. It's where society has put them down so much and society has gotten so scary that they just revert to a computer where everything's at their fingertips, especially other people, and they don't have to actually make contact with these people and do anything long term. And it's a whole lot easier to get rid of an online person than it is a person in real life. And so her job is she's a computer analyst and, she tests things out. And so like when she's given a floppy disk from like one of her coworkers who also is a hermit and works in his place, he has a weird program and he needs her to test it out, and it's a weird symbol, a pi symbol. Well, it leads you to like a back door to like this like weird organization, right? And it's where cyber terrorists use. Now, he also sent her a computer virus that he needed her to fix and stuff like that for like programs, and so she sent him back the virus, and she also mailed it to her job to like her boss can get and stuff like that. And so like when she starts accessing, this program, well, of course it's going to alert the the super secret like organization. So they have to eliminate her. And basically she tells everything about herself online in these chats when she's talking to people. Like she talks to this online dude who lives in her city, but she's never met him. Or maybe he lives in the city or not. I don't know. Maybe that dude just flew to like another city. But anyway, And he asked her, what's your favorite, like, type of guy today, your food, music, stuff like that. So everything about her is online. Well, even though she's a hermit, she wants to take a vacation out of town for a week, which is weird. If she's a hermit, why is she doing that? So anyway, she's supposed to meet him, her co-worker at like her job. He lives out of town. He's gonna fly down his personal plane. He gets into a plane crash and dies. Basically, when he's talking to like the person on the other end of communication, they're giving him a false signal and his computer monitor screen is all messed up. And so she goes to like, her vacation knowing her coworker had just died. And so while she's there, she meets a guy, a very charming guy, and he woozes and smoozes her. He likes the same type of drink she likes. He likes the same type of movies she likes, the same type of cigarettes she used to smoke. She is falling in love, even to the point of sleeping with this dude. And so she finally found somebody in the real world who's literally just like her. So she is smitten by that. And so basically, she gets her identification stolen by a mugger. It turns out that the dude who's been moozing her and stuff, smoozing her, he hired that mugger and everything. After he gets rid of him, it turns out he works for that organization. He is a contract killer. And he is trying to eliminate her because she accessed their like program and stuff. And he doesn't know how far she got in the program. He just needs her eliminated. After he takes her on a boat ride out into the ocean, he tries to kill her, and so she has to fight her way from him and everything. And she's able to, because she's able to use her brain. She's not tough, but just like a scrappy girl, she will start like, wrestling and burning him and biting him, anything she has to do. When they get into a boat crash, she ends up on like shore by a fisherman finding her, and they take her to a hospital, and all her identification is gone. When she tries to get back into America, because she's in Mexico right now, she can't. All her money's gone, all her identification. And so all of a sudden, when she was trying to get a temporary visa, they come up to her and they're all like, they call her Ruth Marks. And she's like, that's not my name. She's like, well, this is what it says on this form with your picture and everything. So she doesn't understand what's going on, because when she tried to check out, they said she checked out a week ago, but she knows she didn't. And so, like, but she just signs the paper anyway because she needs to get out of Mexico and back home. And so when she goes to her house, all of a sudden, all her stuff is gone. And the moving people are there and the realtor there trying to sell her house. When the police show up, they tell her, the realtors all like, I don't know who this woman is. I've never seen Angela Bennett in person and all this other crap. And so they all like, well, this thing right here says your name is Ruth Marks. And she's like, I just signed that to get out of like the country and stuff. So when they do like a background check on her, now we see that contract killer again. And he makes it to where he access the police files and make it to where she's a prostitute and drugs and all this other stuff. So basically throughout the entire movie, she's running from the police and she's running from him. And the only person she can trust is the dude she had an affair with. And he's single now. And he doesn't believe her, but he's going to help her out. There's like nothing she can do. Nobody believes she is who she is, because these people constantly keep getting into the internet and to computers and rewriting everything about her to where it's like not her. After they eventually kill him, she is literally on the run. So basically, it's like this. She figures out at some point that like it's the security system. See, there's like, like Norton and McAfee and AVG, like one of those internet security programs. This one company sold it to like, the US government, and they've been using it for like their police unit, FBI, military, government, everything, like you name it. And with that backdoor system, they can literally get into like, all the files they need with the FBI and the government and all this other stuff. And they use whatever information they can to benefit them. And when anybody finds out, they eliminate them. The one dude who worked for the Department of Defense, who was like a rival of theirs, he killed himself because he thought he had HIV. And but it turns out he didn't. They just like doctored some medical records, and he believed it. And because he also, they said, because like, you know, he was homophobic and all this other stuff, and so he was out of the running, so he just killed himself and stuff like that. That part's not all that explained too well, but they also did other things like crash like a stock market, mess with like, you know, some companies and stuff like that. And so basically they just like, you know, it's kind of like they screw with people to get stuff from them, whether it's money, leverage, who they want to put in politics, stuff like that. So it's basically cyber terrorism on a huge corrupt level. When she figures that out, she just wants to not save the world, but save herself. You gotta give it up for her. She's like, screw the world, man, I just care about myself. Because she just wants her normal life back. Nobody can vouch for her because nobody knows what she looks like. Her mom doesn't even remember her. When she's in prison, oh no, in jail and everything, it's like that's like the end for her. Like she doesn't know what she's gonna do. One of her boss, who knows what she looks like, they eliminated him. Her co-worker, who she talks to online, they eliminated him and everything. And she's constantly being pursued by that contract killer. And so, like, she realizes she's gonna have to somehow get to a computer, get to the mainframe, delete everything with them. And so, like, you know, to get her identity back. This is when you get to Hollywood, internet, magic stuff. And so, like, when she goes to her job for like the first time, she finds the woman who's impersonating her. There's a woman pretending to be Angela Bennett. And so she makes a pretend fire at, like, you know, her job by messing around with the computer, and it makes the alert go out to the fire department. And so there she's able to like hack her way in and find out who's in charge of like this program and stuff. It turns out to be a guy who's trying to sell everything he can to the Department of Defense in other countries and stuff. Once she makes a copy of that, she heads to like a computer convention to, like, you know, access that, because she can't use her computer no more because the ladies come back for her. So anyway, she does some hackety hack stuff, and she's able to put that virus that she had before while accessing the mainframe of like that program. Once the contract killer hits the delete button, oh no, the escape button, it just like wipes everything out. And in Hollywood magic, once it erases the mainframe, it reverts everything that the people, like, you know, did. Because even her friend who she had an affair with, they even murdered that dude. Like, he's allergic to penicillin, so they changed his medicine when he went to go restock it to give him penicillin. And then they like jacked him full of penicillin in the hospital and everything, and lied and said he had diabetes and stuff. And so now, you know, so basically, you know, she wins today and everything like that. And it's really a fascinating movie, like, you know, because they was able to erase everything with her because nobody knew what she looked like because she was a hermit. And because she's just a nobody and everything and sticks to the computer, it was easy to just, like, you know, rewrite like who she was and stuff. And it's one of those things that teaches you, you know, you have to get out. People have to see it. Because nowadays, people are getting their identification stolen all the time, especially celebrities and everything. And they're taking people's money away from, like, their banks. And even when they take them away, sometimes the banks won't give it back and everything. It's one of those things where you really got to be careful when you're online and stuff. And so, because the internet was really booming around 95, this was a really fascinating concept to consider and educate people in and stuff. And honestly, I don't see this being, I can't see this truly being made in today's time because the way technology has improved itself, unless you make it similar to that Die Hard movie and everything, because then that makes total sense. But the fact that technology has improved leaps and bounds, you need an outdated computer system and movie to make something like this really work, in my opinion. And that's one of the problems with, like, the spin-offs and the reboots and the rip-offs and stuff like that, is that they were all set in more modern times, and it just couldn't click with people. Plus, you need Sandra Bullock, man. And like, the other lady who played in the TV series, I seen her work, and like I said before, it's good. I just not sure how it is for that show because I never finished it and stuff. Sandra Bullock's acting in this is phenomenal. You really truly believe that she is just like a nobody type person, like a person who is, like, really scared and like just want to be like left alone and just wants her identity back, pleading with the guy, talking about, I don't have the floppy disk no more and this and that. And she's really believable when she uses her brain, like when the fake FBI dude, who was really cool, man. He's like a smooth, like Kumo D kind of like 80s kind of dude. And so, like, when she realizes he's talking about, the disc getting messed up in Mexico, she's all like, I only told one person, that's the dude trying to kill me. So she realizes straight up that, he ain't who he says he is. And I love how smart her character is, because she's not dumb whatsoever. And the fact she knows about computers, she's not that people smart, but she's learning as fast as she can. And when you really do watch this, she does seem like the girl next door who's like secluded and everything. Like, she seems like she's a fish out of water when she's out and about. Her little smirks, her smiles, her facial expressions, they're always, always, always on point. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.